It's Schools Out.
Many young people just can't wait to leave school, so they leave no matter what the consequences. But for some, the big question is whether to get more qualifications or to take a chance on the highly competitive job market. You might think it's far too soon to think about it, but it's never too early to start planning the future. You've got to make up your mind.
I made my mind up really early on what I wanted to be when I left school. First choice, professional rounders player. Second choice, Doctor Who's new assistant. But they were out, so apart from that, I couldn't think of what else. It is a problem, it is, little Ted. What do you want to do when you leave play school? He wants his own TV series like Paddington. Well, if you go making smart comments like that, I think we're going to throw little Ted through the round window. And I suggest you don't go around talking to stuffed teddy bears like me. Make your own mind up.
Making a good early decision is always very important and obviously puts you ahead of many people who haven't taken time, either in school or out of it, to seriously think about what skills they have to offer and how they're going to tackle the world outside. So it's very important to assess realistically what skills you have to offer in the way of social skills, dealing with people, working with people, the obvious ones like practical skills and the traditional academic skills. And the sooner, through help at school and through talking to people outside, people get a realistic assessment of what they're able to offer, the sooner they're going to get placed in something that makes them happy. And basically, that's what careers is all about, doing something that you enjoy doing and using the skills that you've got to best advantage.
Joanne Pollitt left school 2 years ago, and she's now doing a job she never knew existed. And it took Tony Arthur 6 years to find a career he finds worthwhile. The story of how Joanne and Tony chose their careers shows just how important it is to think about the future and to start making plans before you leave. At school, Joanne had a very definite idea of what she wanted to do, or at any rate she thought she had.
Oh, well, I'd always been with animals all my life, right from being young, so it was just my first love, really. We'd always had horses, cats and dogs around us. And when I got older, I got more into agricultural animals. And it was just, you know, the right track for me, really. It was just what I wanted to do.
Tony Arthur was the opposite to Joanne. At school, all he was certain of was that he wanted to leave.
I can't ever remember thinking during sort of the early part of my school life that I'd leave school below the age of 18. I always imagined that I'd go on to do A-levels, and I was led to believe that I'd then go on and do a degree and then get some sort of job, which those sort of things led to.
Well, originally I wanted to be a vet. In the last few years of school, I decided that it was a bad choice. I obviously wasn't clever enough, and you had to be the top. I obviously wanted to do something connected with animals, either agriculture, something like that.
Joanne had decided on a career that needed qualifications. She was taking 8 O-levels and needed to pass all of them to go on to the next stage. At school, she was expected to pass, but when the results came out, she'd failed every one.
So how did you feel when you failed them all?
Absolutely devastated. I thought that was the end of the world. You know, there was nothing left for me. And I was just at a loose end completely, you know. I just felt like giving up completely, but a lot of people were a lot of help, you know. My friends that passed exams were fabulous, you know, they really felt for me. The teachers weren't too bad, but my parents were fabulous, and close friends were great, you know, and it was them that started me, you know, to think again. Else I think if it wasn't for them, I would have just completely, you know, I was just it, the end.
I suppose I was quite lazy at school, really. I think I had a sort of, like, slightly above average ability and could have done a lot better. It wasn't that hard to leave school because they seemed to be quite pleased to see the back of me for some reason in the sixth form. It was harder as far as my sort of family were concerned. They were a bit less enthusiastic about it than I was.
So this careers officer walks into a restaurant, says, waiter, there's a school leaver in my soup. The waiter says, oh, I'm sorry, sir. There's a lot of them about at this time of year. They're like flies. Leave it on the side of your plate. So the school leaver thinks, I know when I'm not wanted. So the school leaver goes to the psychiatrist and says, look, I keep thinking people are ignoring me. He says, that's a load of nonsense, and I get lost while I see the rest of my patients. So the school leaver goes to the doctor, says, doctor, I'm having trouble with me ego. It's all bruised and deflated. The doctor says, look, don't let things get you down. Start looking on the bright side. So the school leaver goes back to the careers office. Knock, knock. Who's there? The school leaver. The school leaver who? The school leaver who's decided what he wants to be. What do you want to be? A stand-up comedian. He says, well, sit down, we'll have a serious talk about it.
Joanne left school to resit her O-levels at college, but she had to think again about being a vet.
Then I decided that I'd go to agricultural college or try and get a degree in agriculture and to teach agriculture. And that was the other direction I chose.
Why did you actually choose to go to tech and not resit your exams in the sixth form?
We didn't have a sixth form at our school, so we all, you just moved on. Our school was connected to the tech, so you automatically moved on to that college. So.
And what was tech like? I mean, was it very different from school? Can you describe the difference?
It was just totally, everything was the opposite, you know. The people, I mean, everybody just seemed to get their own ideas about things. Like at school, you got ideas drummed into you and that was it. You didn't have any more ideas. But there, everybody seemed to get their own ideas. Politics was brought into it a lot. People changed their views, they went against the parents. Just everything was different and the people were different. Even the people that, you know, you grew up with, they all changed, slowly, but they all changed. And I just didn't seem to change along with them.
I wasn't particularly enjoying my time in the sixth form. A lot of my friends had left at the end of the fifth year. So I left school. I had a job at a Wimpy bar near home. So I took that up full time and then just started looking for more sort of full-time steady employment.
Tony had left school with no real aim in mind. He tried his local job centre, as the job he had was only a temporary solution to the problem of what to do with his life.
I like the job at the Wimpy Bar, I like the people I work with. It was quite a lot of fun. I left there because there was a lot of pressure on me to get out, and also because it was in a holiday resort where the work was for a long summer period. But there was obviously an end in sight of that. And so I just went on to the careers centre and the job centre, and I was applying for more sort of stable 9-to-5 jobs.
After the Wimpy Bar, Tony found a job as a clerk with the purchasing department of a large engineering works. He enjoyed the first year, but then became restless.
I enjoyed mixing with people of different age groups who I was working with, but the work was very monotonous. There wasn't much praise given. Kind of, if you made a good impression at a kind of lower rung, they tend to keep you there because you were more useful there as opposed to further on. And also, I tend to, because I really didn't go in there with much conviction, I maybe suffered because of that.
One interview I went for was at a toilet paper factory in Sheffield. So I just wanted any job, that's all. But what can you say at that interview, you know? Why do you want this job? Well, I've always been interested in toilet paper. You know, what do you say? Or, have you got any qualifications? Yeah, I use it all the time. You know, qualifications, what's that? When I was at school, I remember asking my RE teacher, religious education, what good an REO level would do me in later life, bearing in mind I didn't want to be an RE teacher or a vicar. And she said, employers will tend to think you're more honest. Oh, great. My first day interviews went really well until I told them I had an RE O level. That was for a nightclub bouncer, a scrap metal dealer, and a used car salesman.
Everybody does make mistakes, so the first thing to say is that it's not the end of the world if mistakes are made, although the consequences are more serious now just because the job market has constricted so much and that there is that much more competition. To give an example, in nursing, were someone to choose nursing as a career at whatever level, and there are many levels within the caring professions, they would have to first consider the exams that they're taking. Going into nursing now, if a bad decision's made there, it's a lot harder to adapt, to change and move to another career. Whereas before, somebody entering nursing and finding perhaps it wasn't for them could sit back, take another course and develop into something else.
I suppose the major decision that I made since I've left school was the one to come here and start nursing. And I think that came about due to a kind of general dissatisfaction with the life that I had, a need to move away from home and to live in a big city like London. I decided to go into nursing originally through quite negative reasons. It was because I'd sort of kind of hitting out a bit about this kind of 9-to-5 existence that was expected of me. I didn't particularly enjoy it after I'd done it for about 2 years. And I quite fancied doing something that was involved in a more kind of humanistic way. When I came to London and started student nurse training, I did take a cut in money, obviously, and it wasn't too bad initially because I was living in the hospital and I was living in the centre of London, and with all the advantages that had. And I was prepared to cut my losses for a time, but sort of financially, it got worse when I moved out of the nurse's home and was living further afield and had rent to pay and expenses getting to work and so on. But I suppose that I accept that, although I don't think the money is right. I accept, you know, I'm prepared to accept it, and that's why I'm here now. I think I've changed quite a lot as a person certainly since I've been doing nursing and been coming up against people who are sort of at their lowest ebb and quite ill. As far as the academic side of the work goes, it is quite hard to be motivated when you've been, say, working for a 9-hour shift on a ward and then you're expected to come home, particularly at this stage in the game where I'm taking my finals in a few weeks' time. And that's quite a tall order to expect people to do that. But on the other hand, when I do get down to it, I find it surprisingly quite interesting and I do get quite into it. Nursing can be a satisfying job in that it is nice to see patients go home having come in an acutely ill condition, and through various sort of medical treatment and also through your help, you've got them back out, as it were. But it can also be very, very frustrating in that not everybody does that, and obviously patients die or patients get worse or whatever. And also there's a quite strict hierarchical structure within nursing, and there's not much praise given out. There's a lot of quite disciplined kind of job. But having said that, I do enjoy it.
Joanne disliked college but thought she had no other option until an employer who was looking for a trainee graphic artist saw some of her drawings.
The partner from the firm came along and saw my art teacher, who gave him my name, and then he contacted me and we went along there. He invited me and my parents to look round the firm. He showed us all the way around the firm in the studios where they make the plates, and then he took me into the office and gave me a slight interview, asked me what I'd done and what I wanted to do, how many O-levels I'd got, and then offered me the job there and then. I'd always wanted to go into art, but never even gave it a second thought because, I don't know, it just wasn't the thing that I was going to go into. And then when this came up, it sounded nice, it sounded interesting, what I'd wanted to do. I knew I'd be happy drawing all day, or in a sense. And I knew if I liked the place, then I wanted the job. As far as I was concerned, art was drawing, and that was it, because I'd never seen any other sides of art. In fact, I didn't even know what graphic design was until I got there.
There are times that I look back and I think I would quite like to have stayed on at the sixth form and taken A-levels, because I still feel that at the end of this course, and I'll probably stay on and get a job within the hospital, that I would like to have sort of more general qualifications to my name. Otherwise, my only qualifications are sort of in nursing, and it would be quite nice to think that there were other fields open to me as well because of qualifications that I gained earlier.
Did you have any reservations at all about leaving education and going into that job without qualifications?
I did, and I still do, I suppose. But I know that I've got a job, and that experience will always be behind me. I can always go back to college, but I can never fall into a job like I did. And I've always got that experience there, in case I want to go back, I can then come out of college and say, well, look, I've worked for 12 months in a studio. I know what it's like to be pushed. So I haven't any real regrets about leaving.
For Tony, not knowing what kind of life he wanted only delayed the inevitable decision. In Joanne's case, it was not thinking about her talents and not studying the job market that led to a lot of unhappiness. But what choices do you have at 16?
Well, the main options, and there are 4 of them, are the obvious one of staying on at school, and that again falls into 2 categories now. There are traditional A-level courses, which everybody knows about, but many schools are now realising with a changing job situation that they have to offer a range of non-vocational courses, City and Guilds, motor vehicle technology, that sort of thing, which are very important now and form a big part of many sixth forms. The second, an obvious option, is the youth training scheme, which most people have heard a lot about. Basically, that's a 1-year government-sponsored training course. The third option is going to a college of further education to develop a skill or a range of skills that schools can't offer at varying levels, again at the highest level leading to higher national diploma. But not everybody does that. Many people do a 1-year foundation course there. And the final option, of course, is one that many people hope to get at some stage, and that is getting a job.
You got to choose the job, you got to find the job, apply for the job, then get the job. Is it a good job, bad job, odd job, part-time, full-time? Who knows? Smart time, dull time. Would I go? It's the job rap. It's like a trap. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. Okay, let's say that one fine day that you got the job. So now you've got the job, you got to do the job, enjoy the job, and keep the job down. Right down. Is it a factory job, an office job, job in the country, job in the town? Choose, fight, apply, do, enjoy. Keep the job down. Right down. It's the job rap. It's like a trap. I don't know if I want to be a part of that. Trap, trap, trappy, trap, 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 trap. Don't wake me up, cause I wanna have a nap. I've got to go to work and I've got to take me snap. I've got a nice big salad back. Where's me briefcase? Don't get in a flap. It's a trap. I mean a rap. I mean, hand clap.
Choosing what to do in the big wide world is your responsibility, and it deserves some serious thought. So think carefully about what you can reasonably achieve. Collect information about the jobs you think you'd like. Talk to friends and relatives about the world outside school. It's your future, so make up your mind.
Today, the job market is more competitive than it's ever been. So whereas before, people could perhaps experiment and do different courses at the end knowing that there was something at the end of it. Today, a bad decision about your own skills is going to make it very hard indeed to pick up a worthwhile employment at the end of it, whether it's at the end of school, at the end of college, or at the end of a period of higher education. So the sooner people sit down and say, what skills have I got to offer? Are they going to take me to exam level? Is it worth going to exam level with the skills that I possess? If I stay on and take exams, will that lead to something that I want to do? Many people, for instance, never seriously sit down and consider the fact that it isn't always necessary now to stay on and do O-levels, A-levels. That doesn't automatically lead to a job, whereas 10 years ago, that would be considered the only option if you were a, quote, bright child. But nowadays, that doesn't guarantee a job. Universities, colleges are looking for more rounded personalities. And certainly that's why it's very important to assess at the earliest possible age at school what really you have to offer in personal skills, in social skills, in practical skills, and again, traditionally in academic skills.